Hello बच्चों, welcome to SPSVERSITY. In the previous session we discussed about meristematic tissues and simple permanent tissues. So in this session we are going to discuss about complex permanent tissues. A complex permanent tissues means which has different types of cells. So इसमें xylem और phloem come under complex permanent tissues. So xylem is meant for water conduction and phloem is meant for food conduction. Okay. Along with water conduction, xylem provides mechanical support. And xylem is made up of tertiary elements, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. A tertiary elements में two subtypes रहता tracheids और vessels. Both help in water conduction. Vessels are long cylindrical tubular structures और उसका end walls of vessels में perforations रहता, small openings. Or its cell wall is having lignin, it is deposited with lignin. And vessels are dead at maturity. They are found in only angiosperms. They are not present in gymnosperms. Xylem tracheids के बारे में आए तो elongated cells are overlap one another. उसमें perforations नहीं रहता. They have thick lignified walls and they are dead at maturity. Xylem vessels or tracheids का function conduction of water and minerals. और next element के बारे में है तो xylem parenchyma. इसमें thin walls रहता, उसमें cellulose रहता. And it is the only living component of xylem. Xylem में parenchyma में it is just involved in short distance transport. Long distance transport means only tracheids and vessels. Short distance transport by xylem parenchyma. Its function is storage of food material, sugar, starch, lipids, tannins. So what you are seeing, this is xylem. So tracheids, vessel elements which are broader than tracheids, xylem parenchyma which are living cells having nucleus and which are connected by pits. Okay. Or along with xylem, there are xylem fibers which give mechanical support. So which give mechanical support. So this is the end plate of xylem which is having perforations. A vessel member से उसके end plates में perforations रहते. Phloem के बारे में आए तो, so phloem is concerned with transport of organic substances. So phloem में क्या रहता? Sieve elements, companion cells, phloem parenchyma or phloem fibers. So phloem में sieve tube members, companion cell, phloem parenchyma or phloem fibers. The sieve tubes, they are formed by sieve tube members. Cross walls have perforations. और मेच्योर sieve tube में न्यूक्लियस नहीं रहता, सिर्फ साइटोप्लाज्म रहता. But they are living. इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि enucleated cells. living cells without nucleus, enucleated cells. Or function of sieve tube elements is controlled by nucleus of companion cell. So every sieve tube element is associated with companion cell. A sieve tubes they are characteristically present in angiosperms. A gymnosperms में नहीं रहता, सिर्फ sieve cells रहता. अब पिक्चर में देख रहे sieve tube element. This is sieve plate, end plate with perforations. This is a companion cell, the nucleus of companion cell, which controls the functions of sieve tube member. So companion cell is always associated with sieve tube member. So these are sieve areas found throughout the end walls. A cells living but they lack nucleus. A sieve cells किधर रहता? Lower vascular plants. Lower vascular plants बोले तो इसमें आता है कि pteridophytes और gymnosperms. So pteridophytes और gymnosperms में sieve cells रहता, angiosperms में sieve tube elements रहता. अब every sieve element is associated with companion cell, which are connected by pit fields, which help in maintaining pressure gradient. So this is sieve tube member, which is associated with companion cell. Or a phloem parenchyma. Phloem parenchyma में phloem cells are elongated and cylindrical. उसमें cytoplasm और nucleus दोनों में रहता. इसका function storage of food materials, which is absent in monocot plants. Okay. So here if you come to these sieve elements and companion cells are paired structures which are always associated with each other. And sieve elements are conductive elements which play a major role in conduction of food materials, that is sugars from leaves to other parts. Or a parenchyma fibers, they are not conductive. Okay. The phloem fibers का दूसरा नाम क्या है कि bast fibers. They are found along with other elements. They are elongated and thick walled. They are dead at maturity, absent in primary phloem. और phloem में भी types रहता. First formed phloem उसको क्या बोलते हैं कि protophlloem. कैसा में xylem को protoxylem. Later formed phloem इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि metaphlloem. Okay. And secondary phloem which is formed during secondary growth. So that is the secondary phloem. So अभी तक हमें पढ़ा है tissues in plants, meristems और permanent tissues. So अभी हम पढ़ाएंगे tissue systems in plants. Plants में 3 types of tissue systems रहता. Epidermal tissue system, vascular tissue system और ground or fundamental tissue system. Epidermis means which will cover, which is outermost covering of plant body. So इसमें क्या रहता? इसमें epidermal cells, epidermal appendages और stomata रहता. Epi means outermost layer. In most of the plants, it is single layered. Epidermis is single layered. The cells में cytoplasm रहता और large vacuole रहता. So outer surface of this epidermis in stem and leaf is covered by cuticle. Cuticle का function क्या है कि prevents loss of water. और epidermis में stomata रहता which were meant for gases exchange. स्टोमाटा में दो कॉर्ड सेल्स रहते हैं, एक ओपनिंग को क्या बोलते हैं कि स्टोमा, और दो गॉड सेल्स रहते हैं। इधर देख सकते हैं स्टोमाटा, the layer which covers it is cuticle. This is outermost layer epidermis. Okay. So God cells stomata में लिए तो दो God cells रहता, और the surrounding cells which surround this God cells, it is called subsidiary cells. So stomata में एक opening रहता stoma, दो God cells which are surrounded by subsidiary cells. और स्टोमाटा में डाइकोट्स और मोनोकोट्स में लिए तो डाइकोट्स में स्टोमाटा गॉड सेल्स आर बीन शेप्ड, और मोनोकोट्स में डम्बल शेप्ड रहते। और गॉड सेल्स, इनर वॉल ऑफ गॉड सेल्स इज थिक एंड आउटर वॉल ऑफ गॉड सेल्स इज थिन. And its special characteristic feature is God cells have chloroplasts which will carry out photosynthesis. Okay. So stomata में stomatal aperture, stoma, God cells और surrounding epidermal cells are रहते. Surrounding epidermal cells को क्या बोलते हैं कि subsidiary cells. इसको क्या बोलते हैं? subsidiary cells. और इसके साथ क्या रहता है कि अपेंडेजेस, क्यूटिकल, स्टोमाटा और अपेंडेजेस भी रहता है. सो रूट्स में आए तो रूट्स में रूट हेड्स रहता है which will absorb water and minerals. स्टेम, if you look into the appendages in the stem, इसको क्या बोलता है कि ट्राइकोम्स, so which will prevent water loss by transpiration. So which will prevent water loss by transpiration. So this is stomatal structure. So this is stoma, these are God cells, these are subsidiary cells. A God cells being shaped in dicots, dumbbell shaped in monocots. Okay. So अभी तक हमें पढ़ा है कि एपिडर्मल टिश्यू सिस्टम. नेक्स्ट हमें पढ़ा रही वैस्कुलर टिश्यू सिस्टम. इसमें क्या रहता? जाइलम और फ्लोएम रहता. सो उसको स्ट्रैंड्स को क्या बोलते हैं कि वैस्कुलर बंडल्स. So xylem में which occur on the same radius, they are collateral. Okay. इसका xylem और phloem के बीच में कैम्बियम रहे तो इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि ओपन. कैम्बियम नहीं है तो इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि क्लोज्ड वैस्कुलर बंडल. So देख रहे, this is phloem, this is xylem. इसके बीच में कैम्बियम. Okay. So this cambium plays an important role in secondary growth. Okay. In some vascular bundles दो phloems रहता, central xylem रहता, दो phloems. इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि bicollateral vascular bundles. और हमें रूट्स में आया तो रेडियल वैस्कुलर बंडल्स रहता. रेडियल बोले तो जाइलम, फ्लोएम आर प्रेजेंट ऑन डिफरेंट रेडियस ऑल्टरनेटली. जाइलम पोजीशन के बारे में तो दो पोजीशंस रहता है, एक्सआर्क एंड एंडआर्क. एक्सआर्क जनरली किधर रहता? रूट्स में रहता. प्रोटोजाइलम इज प्रेजेंट टुवर्ड्स पेरिफेरी, मेटाजाइलम टुवर्ड्स सेंटर. End-arc is seen in stem, where protoxylem is present towards center and metaxylem is present towards periphery. So xylem में protoxylem or metaxylem. Secondary xylem is formed, which is also called wood, which is formed during secondary growth. So this is end-arc arrangement. This is protoxylem. This is metaxylem. Metaxylem is present towards periphery and protoxylem is present towards center. This is roots, where protoxylem is present towards periphery. This is protoxylem which is present towards periphery. Metaxylem is present towards center. दूसरा टाइप को क्या बोलते हैं कि कंजॉइंट वैस्कुलर बंडल. So both xylem and phloem are present on the same radius. Okay. Radial vascular bundles where xylem and phloem are present on different radius. एक इधर रहता, roots में रहता. So अभी तक हमें पढ़ाई vascular tissue system. हमें अभी पढ़ेंगे ग्राउंड टिश्यू सिस्टम और फंडामेंटल टिश्यू सिस्टम. Except epidermis and vascular bundles, remaining all it is called ground tissue system. इसमें क्या रहता है कि simple permanent tissues. Generally parenchyma cells रहता, cortex, pericycle, pith और medullary. A ground tissue of leaves is called mesophyll. So this is leaf, a transverse section of leaf. This is upper epidermis, this is lower epidermis. इसके बीच में रहने वाले को क्या बोलते हैं कि mesophyll है, पूरा mesophyll है. mesophyll में vascular bundles रहते. So अभी तक हमें पढ़ा है ground tissue system के बारे में. Now we'll study the anatomy of root, stem and leaf. In this we'll study anatomy of dicot root, monocot root, anatomy of dicot stem, monocot stem, anatomy of dicot leaf and monocot leaf. पहले हम आएंगे dicot root पर. Example of dicot sunflower. इसमें the outermost layer को क्या बोलते हैं कि epidermis, which has root hairs. इसमें क्यूटिकल नहीं रहता, नो क्यूटिकल नो स्टोमेटा एपिडर्मिस में. इसमें क्यूटिकल और स्टोमेटा नहीं रहता. और एपिडर्मिस के नीचे retic walled parenchymatous cells which is called cortex. The next layer of epidermis, it is called cortex. And the innermost layer of cortex, it is called endodermis. So in endodermis, the cells are barrel shaped and arranged compactly. Compactly means without intercellular space. And the walls are deposited with suberin, a chemical called suberin. इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि Casparian strips. The person name who discovered this is Caspari. इसलिए इसको Casparian strips बोलते हैं, which is impermeable to water. So अभी तक हमें पढ़े epidermis और cortex. Next is stele. So stele में आता है कि pericycle, vascular bundles, pith आता है. Just below endodermis, pericycle is present. And below the pericycle, there are vascular bundles where xylem and phloem are present alternately. So generally 4 xylem and 4 xylem are present. That is, it is called tetrarch condition. Tetrarch means 4. 4 xylem elements and 4 phloem elements are present. और फ्लोएम और xylem के बीच में रहने वाले पैरेंकाइमेटस टिश्यू के क्या बोलते हैं कि कंजंक्टिव टिश्यू. क्या बोलते हैं कंजंक्टिव टिश्यू. सो इसमें एक्सार्ट और टेट्रार्क कंडीशन रहता. मोनोकॉट रूट के बारे में आए तो most of the dicot and monocot roots similar लेता. epidermis, cortex, और innermost layer endodermis pericycle पूरा similar रहता, लेकिन कुछ differences रहता between dicot and monocot root. इसमें differences क्या है कि इसमें more than 6 xylem 6 vascular bundles रहता, that means 6 xylem strands and 6 phloem strands रहता. पॉली और कंडीशन इसको क्या बोलते कि पॉलीऑर्क. डाइकॉट स्टेम इसको क्या बोलते कि टेट्रार्क. एंड हियर इट इज लार्जर पिथ. पिथ इज लार्जर हियर, whereas in dicot root the pith is smaller. अभी नेक्स्ट समय तो anatomy of dicot stem. So what you are seeing on the left side, it is ground section and it is section enlarged. On the left side it is ground section and it is section enlarged. Okay. So इसमें epidermis और cortex steel बोल के 3 parts रहता. Epidermis, the outermost layer, इसमें cuticle रहता, stomata और trichomes भी रहता. Stomata which has God cells which are bean shaped. The next part of epidermis is cortex, which is made up of hypodermis, which is made up of collenchyma, middle cortical layer, which is made up of parenchyma, and innermost layer endodermis. Endodermis, which is rich in starch grains, इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि starch sheath. A vascular bundles conjoined xylem and phloem are present on same radius. Between xylem and phloem cambium रहता, in dark condition. Pith which is present, it is parenchymatous. और vascular bundles के बीच में रहने वाली इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि medullary race. Anatomy of monocot stem. इसमें anatomy of monocot stem और anatomy of dicot stem के बारे में लिए तो इसमें कुछ differences रहता. The differences और xylem epidermis रहता है, लेकिन epidermis में stomata और dumbbell shaped, God cells are dumbbell shaped. Hypodermis is made up of sclerenchyma. और डाइकॉट स्टेम में हाइपोडर्मिस में कोलेनकाइमा रहता. सो इसमें एंडोडर्मिस पेरिसाइकल स्टील ऐसा टर्म्स नहीं रहता. सो डायरेक्टली वैस्कुलर बंडल्स आर प्रेजेंट इन द ग्राउंड टिश्यू. और वैस्कुलर बंडल्स आर कवर्ड बाय स्क्लेरेnchymatous बंडल शीथ. और वैस्कुलर बंडल्स closed or conjoined. Closed or conjoined. Closed means no cambium. So phloem parenchyma is absent. Okay. So अभी तक हमें पढ़े anatomy of dicot stem and anatomy of monocot stem. Next हमें आ रहे dicot leaf. आप क्या देख रहे dicot leaf? This is upper epidermis adoxial, this is lower epidermis abaxial. Mesophyll, a mesophyll के अंदर vascular bundles. Okay. A dicotyledonous leaf को क्या बोलते हैं कि dorsiventral leaf. इसमें 3 parts रहता. Epidermis, mesophyll, vascular system. एपिडर्मिस में अपर एपिडर्मिस रहता, लोअर एपिडर्मिस रहता. अपर को एडॉक्सियल, लोअर को एबॉक्सियल बोलते. जनरली एबॉक्सियल सरफेस में ज्यादा स्टोमेटा रहता व्हेन कंपेयर्ड विद एडॉक्सियल. मेसोफिल व्हिच इज प्रेजेंट बिटवीन टू एपिडर्मल लेयर्स, इसमें पैरेंकाइमा रहता व्हिच हैव क्लोरोफिल. क्लोरोफिल का फंक्शन क्या है? फोटोसिंथेसिस. mesophyll में differentiated mesophyll रहता, that is towards upper epidermis, that is adoxial epidermis, palisade parenchyma are present, which are elongated cells, Spongy parenchyma are spherical and loosely arranged. So vascular system में vascular bundles रहता है, midribs और veins में आता है. Bundles or vascular bundles are covered by bundle sheath cells. This is monocot leaf. इसमें monocot leaf और dicot leaf के बारे में लिए थे. इसमें थोड़ा differences रहता. Dicot leaf को dorsiventral leaf बोलते. मोनोकोट लीफ को क्या बुलाते हैं कि आइसोबाइलेटरल लीफ. कुछ डिफरेंसेस रहता. और डिफरेंसेस क्या है कि स्टोमेटा प्रेजेंट ऑन बोथ सरफेसेस, more or less same number of stomata are present on both the addoxal and aboxal. और mesophil is undifferentiated mesophil. इसमें स्पॉन्जी और पैलिसाइड सेल्स रहता, सिर्फ एक ही रहता. और ग्रासेस में है तो इधर एडॉक्सियल एपिडर्मिस में, ग्रासेस में लार्ज एम्प्टी वाटर फिल्ड सेल्स रहता है. इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि बुल्ली फॉर्म सेल्स विच विल हेल्प इन प्रिवेंटिंग लॉस ऑफ वाटर बाय ट्रांसपिरेशन. टर्जिड है तो अनरोल ऑफ द लीव्स due to water stress they become flaccid, which will roll the leaves so that prevents loss of water by transpiration. So अभी तक हमें पढ़ा है anatomy of root, anatomy of stem और anatomy of leaf. अभी हम आएंगे secondary growth in plants. A secondary growth सिर्फ dicots, that is stem और रूट में देख सकते, सिर्फ डाइकोट में, मोनोकोट्स में नहीं रहता. Okay. So secondary growth is specifically seen if you come into dicot stem. So when you come to secondary growth in stellar region. So in stellar region, पहले की ring of cambium is formed. ये कैसे फॉर्म होता है? रिंग ऑफ कैम्बियम को क्या बोलते हैं कि वैस्कुलर कैम्बियम. हाउ इट इज फॉर्म? सो वैस्कुलर कैम्बियम में दो कैम्बियम्स रहता है. एक को क्या बोलते हैं कि इंट्राफैस्कुलर, विच इज प्राइमरी, विच इज ऑलरेडी प्रेजेंट बिटवीन जाइलम एंड फ्लोएम. और vascular bundles के बीच में medullary rays will form, that is parenchyma which are present between it will form interfascicular cambium. A interfascicular cambium or intrafascicular cambium will join and form a ring of cambium. So इसको क्या बोलते कि vascular cambium. So interfascicular cambium is completely secondary. It is formed only during secondary growth. Intra is completely primary. It is present from starting of the life, that is in the primary stem itself. So vascular cambium is partially primary and partially secondary. vascular cambium में दो टाइप्स ऑफ सेल्स रहते हैं, फिजिफॉर्म इनिशियल्स और रे इनिशियल्स. फिजिफॉर्म इनिशियल्स से क्या आता है कि सेकेंडरी जाइलम और सेकेंडरी फ्लोएम. रे इनिशियल्स आइसोडायमेटिक सेल्स रहते हैं, क्या देते कि पैरेन्काइमेटस वैस्कुलर रेस. Vascular cambium activity depends on seasons. Activity means it will divide. That is, fusiform cells of cambium will divide periclinally, forming two cells. Okay. The cells which are formed towards outside, they develop into secondary phloem. Which are formed towards inside, it will develop into secondary phloem. Okay. और रे इनिशियल्स के आने वाले सेल्स को that is secondary medullary rays which extend horizontally from pith to secondary xylem and phloem. Okay. So from fusiform initials towards inside secondary xylem is formed and towards outside secondary phloem is formed. Okay. Due to formation of these secondary structures, that is towards outside, the primary phloem and cortex and epidermis are pushed outside. And when you come to inside, the secondary primary xylem is pushed towards center. Okay. What happens is the primary structures are pushed away from vascular cambium. So what you are seeing, this is vascular bundle, this is intravascular cambium. In between these which is formed, it is intervascular cambium. When both combine, the entire ring of cambium, it is called vascular cambium. And when you come to particularly xylem, secondary xylem, so more amount of secondary xylem is formed than secondary phloem because towards inner it is more active than outer. Or escape formation it depends on seasonal alterations. Spring season, the wood which is formed, that is secondary xylem which is formed in spring season, it is called spring wood or it is also called early wood. Spring season means favorable season. Okay. And in the later on season, the autumn season, the wood which is formed, the secondary xylem which is formed during autumn season, it is called autumn wood or late wood. So, एक साल में दो types of secondary xylem are formed. One is spring wood, one is autumn wood. Spring wood which have much wider relatively thin walled vessels when compared with autumn. Okay. So, every year spring wood and autumn wood are added. So this spring wood and autumn wood combinedly it is called growth ring. So every year one annual ring is formed. इसलिए इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि annual ring. So by counting the number of rings, we can calculate the age of the trees. This is called. So this branch of botany which deals with counting the age of trees by counting the annual rings, it is called dendrochronology. It is called dendrochronology. So you can see here, this is early wood, this is late wood. Okay. So when you come to this vascular cambium, this is early wood, this is late wood. Combinedly, the early wood and late wood, it is called annual ring. Okay. Every year, one annual ring is formed. Okay. Like this, as the age of the plant increases, the number of annual rings also we will increase. So each ring will denote one season, and this branch is called dendrochronology. इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि dendrochronology. Or as age बढ़ते ही the amount of xylem will also be increasing. Okay. So the xylem which gets accumulated towards center of the stem, which is called heartwood, that is इसमें which is dark colored in the center में क्या रहता है, इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि heartwood. Or light colored wood which is said to be sapwood or alburnum. So dark colored wood, heartwood which is present towards the center of the stem, इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि juramen, और sapwood का alternate नाम क्या है alburnum. So sapwood में living cells रहता, still functional. Functional means which can conduct water and minerals. पर लेकिन हमें हार्टवुड के बारे में है तो इसमें डेड सेल्स रहता है which are deposited with tannins, resins, etc. इसलिए it is not suitable for conduction of water and minerals. Heartwood में conduction नहीं रहता. Okay. Gradually what happens is as the grows wood, sapwood will become into heartwood. Sapwood is converted into heartwood. Okay. So this gradual process which living cells of sapwood will lose their protoplast and vessels are blocked by tylosis. Tylosis means balloon-like structures which will block the xylem, which will plug the lumen of the vessels, or it's made deposit of the gums, tannins, resins. So sapwood is gradually converted to heartwood. Heartwood is which is present towards center, sapwood which is generally periphery. In sapwood there is a conduction of water, whereas in heartwood there is no conduction of water. So this is the secondary growth in stellar region. Extrastellar region. Extrastellar means other than steel. Cortex में होता है. So in cortex there is another simultaneous changes occurs. That is, in epidermis, due to this secondary growth, it is replaced by a protective tissue called peridome, which is formed from phyllogeny. Okay. So cortex में क्या होता है कि during secondary growth a new secondary meristem is formed which is called cork cambium. उसका अलग नाम है कि phyllogen. So in cortex phyllogen or cork cambium is formed. This will divide, that is periclinally, and will form towards outside phellum, which is also called cork. Phylloderm towards inside, which is also called secondary cortex. So phyllogen, which is called cork cambium, it is a secondary lateral meristem. Okay. So phyllogen is made up of meristematic cells, okay, which divide periclinally and produce some cells towards outside and some cells towards inside. Outside the cells which are developed, which will develop into phellum. Inside cells which will develop into phylloderm, इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि secondary cortex. So cork का दूसरा नाम phellum, cork cambium phyllogen, secondary cortex phylloderm. Phellum, phellum के बारे में है तो cork में बारे में, the cells are mature and they are dead. इसमें suberin deposit होता. So you can see the deposition of suberin. They are actually prismatic in shape. Okay. और इसमें sometimes you can see non-suberized cells. इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि phelloids. ये three layers को combinedly क्या बोलते हैं कि peridome. Quercus suber के plant से क्या extract करते हैं कि commercial cork. So cork is light in weight, which is resistant to pressure, which has insulating properties, which is impervious to liquids, which will not allow liquids, resistant to acids. That's why it is used to cover the chemical bottles. It is commercially important. Phylloderm के बारे में तो secondary cortex, which is formed towards inside the cork cambium. इसमें लिविंग सेल्स रहता है, इसमें सेकेंडरी कॉर्टेक्स सेल्स में क्लोरोप्लास्ट भी रहता, which are living, which has chloroplast, which can perform photosynthesis. Okay, and they are radially arranged. और इसमें दूसरा टर्म आता है कि bark बोले तो क्या है? The tissues which are present outside the vascular cambium. Outside the vascular cambium means including secondary phloem, primary phloem, cortex, peridome. इस पूरा को क्या बोलते हैं कि bark. Okay. So this is composed of a variety of tissues. इसमें bark में ring bark रहता है, ऐसा ring जैसा आता है bark. और scaly bark are the values जैसे fragments जैसा थे इसमें Curicus और Platanus examples. Ring bark Vitis vinifera climatis. So this is cork cambium which is called phellogen. This is cork which is called phellum. Okay. This is phellodum, the secondary cortex. ये 3 layers को combinedly क्या बोलते हैं कि पेरिडम. cork cambium, phellodum को combinedly क्या बोलते हैं कि secondary cortex को क्या बोलते हैं कि पेरिडम. So in the peridum, what happens is the epidermis, due to formation of this cork cambium, the epidermis is lost. Epidermis is lost means along with the stomata are also lost. Okay. In peridum, that is in phellum, some cells are loosely arranged. इसको क्या बोलते हैं कि वो lenticels. They generally differentiate easily below stomata. Here cells which are loosely arranged and they are non-superized and they have many intercellular spaces. This को क्या बोलते हैं कि complementary cells. Okay. Why they are loosely arranged? What is the reason for this which are non-superized? This is the help in gas exchange and transpiration. So older stems में transpiration और gas exchange lenticels के द्वारा होता है. This is called lenticular transpiration. These are lenticels which are seen in older dicot stems. So this is about the secondary growth in dicot stem or dicot root may be secondary growth दे सकते. This is this vascular cambium which is completely secondary in dicot root is formed from pericycle. So dicot root और dicot stem में हमें देख सकते हैं secondary growth monocots में नहीं रहते. Thank you all. Welcome to SPSVERSITY University. We'll meet again.